Well, thank you all again for tuning in. I'm sorry about those technical difficulties there, but again, huge win. Obviously, so excited today to dive into this huge win against Boston College. And as you can tell, it's myself, Layton Smith, and here Michael today. Our partner Macon is at a wedding today, so unfortunately he can't join us today. But that doesn't mean that we still can sit here and talk with you guys. So for those who are tuning in, make sure to send us a comment, send us heads up in the chat of who's tuning in, and also to make sure to give us your thoughts along the way as we discuss the game. And obviously we're going to probably discuss some other things, kind of review some of the games in the ACC this week. So first of all, Michael, so for those who are watching, so where are you at right now? It doesn't look like you're at your same normal background for those who are tuning in.
No, I am on the way home. I was visiting my girlfriend.
Cool.
So it's a long drive, so I had to make a pit stop.
I hear you. So give us your initial thoughts on the Boston College game. I know we got a lot to kind of dig in on, but what are your initial thoughts on the game?
I obviously am very happy and very optimistic. In our group text before the game, I was saying I think it'll be a close game. BC's been, they've played Clemson close. They beat Missouri. Even with the backup QB, they've been pretty good. So I was saying I think it's going to be close, but if we and won by a couple scores, that would make me really confident for the rest of the season. And we just that. I mean, it took till the second half really to get, but adjustments, especially on defense, and put them out. And special teams touchdown, that's always a bonus. Offense looked pretty good, pretty solid. Nothing spectacular, but I mean, they did enough to get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and again, I think that, and I know that I said this yesterday in my video on my initial thoughts about the game, but the biggest, I would definitely say, and I guess we'll kind of dive into this a little bit more, but, for me, that was Dorn's most impressive win to date in his tenure, mostly because, again, of a couple of things. First of all, I know going into this game that there was obviously a lot of talk about Boston College versus NC State, how it was, kind of a toss-up game, a pick-em game. Obviously both teams were showing a lot of promise. Both teams were definitely in the hunt for the Atlantic title, and also too, we're playing on the road, we're playing in prime time. And I know during our interview with Fourth and Dude that he had said that the environment for that game was going to be top notch, and I think it definitely was all that and then some for sure. I think they had like 43,000 people there. The student section was definitely electric from what I could see on the TV. And so it was definitely a tough environment for sure. And so to come out early and give them a punch in the mouth quickly and get that awesome, highlight catch from Devin Carter was a great way to kind of set the tone for the game. I know obviously it didn't stay that way for the most of the first half in terms of, offensively. We did, we started off great in the first drive, but then didn't really do much from then on out. So, but again, to at least just start off, obviously showing that we were ready for that game and we were ready to jump into that game early was a great sign. Because I know that that's kind of one of those things you're always kind of worried about, especially in a road game, is kind of that you're kind of getting some of shaking it out a little bit, kind of loosening up. All right, let's get into this game. But no, they hit them right from the word go. So, but one of the biggest things which I wanted to kind of discuss though that was really impressive to me was Devin Leary. I think for the most part, I think yesterday really proved that he's not necessarily I would definitely not say he's the greatest talented, like he's the most talented quarterback in the country or something like that. But I will say I think he is one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the country.
Yep.
Every single week for the last 4 weeks, he's consistently produced. Not necessarily at like 500 yards or 6 touchdowns level or something like that, but every single week, he's going to take care of the ball. He's going to be efficient with the football, and he's going to give his players an opportunity to catch the ball, which is huge. So that was my initial kind of thought for sure.
Yeah, he like you said, nothing spectacular, but he's been he's been a perfect game manager. I think I think it was in the last 4 games he's thrown for 250 yards each and 3 touchdowns each with or 250 yards each, 12 touchdowns over those four. Wasn't exactly three each, but and then no
Mhm.
picks. So I mean, yeah, he's been making smart plays, taking care of the football,
Yep.
and it's definitely nice to see.
Yeah. Well, because I don't know if you got if anybody hasn't seen the stat either, but Leary since the Furman game has thrown 12 touchdowns and no interceptions. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, if that doesn't, again, just show, because again, this isn't against no Joe Schmo teams either. I mean, Louisiana Tech, Clemson, and Boston College are three of the, upper tier. I wouldn't say like, some of the best in the country, but I would say upper tier defenses, and
yeah,
so I was super impressed, and because again, obviously it was very clear that the run game was just not working yesterday. I think
yeah,
between Zonovan and Ricky, they ran the ball 20 times and had like 78, 79 yards or something like that.
yeah.
So
It wasn't much.
so not much, but again, the fact that we were still able to find a way to win and get it done, but also too, another thing I would say as well is how I, I think this is the first time that I can think of where we played a game that was a toss up, give or take, on the road, and we were dominant. I mean, we
Yeah,
dominated Boston College. I mean, like literally by like maybe 5 minutes left in the third quarter, you could just tell that the whole stadium, the team, Boston College, the whole team was just defeated. Like, they were just like they didn't know what to do. They were like, "Oh my
yeah.
gosh." I mean, like, what is going on here?
It.
And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say yeah, and it happened quick with right
Mhm.
after halftime, we blocked. Well, he didn't block it. He dropped the punter, dropped it. We returned that for a touchdown. I think
Yeah.
was it the next possession that they got the pick? It was either
Yep.
the possession after maybe one more, but yeah.
Yep.
And then we scored on that, and all of a sudden it was 24-7, and yeah,
Yep.
yeah, like you said, they just looked defeated.
Yeah. So, I was very encouraged for sure, and I think that obviously this puts us squarely in the hunt for the Atlantic Division title. I think right now it's between pretty much Wake Forest and us. I know that a lot of ESPNers would say that Clemson's still in the hunt, but I mean, I think from what we saw that they played, how they played against Syracuse, from what we saw, against them playing Boston College, against
Yeah,
us. I just don't see Clemson winning out. I truly do see them slipping once. Now, to who, I don't know, but I mean, don't be shocked because I know what Wake Forest is on Clemson's schedule at some point, and
yep,
I would definitely say that Wake Forest is going to be favored for that game. I couldn't imagine
yep.
not. Whether it's at
Clemson
Clemson or Wake Forest, I would take Wake Forest definitely to win that game.
and Clemson plays at Pitt next week. That's not going to be easy either. I
Ooh,
think Pitt's
yeah.
going to be favored in that
I,
one.
I
So
let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. If I mean if Pitt's not favored by more than 2 or
let me
3
see it.
points, then I'm taking Pitt all day long. I just Pitt's just Pitt
Looks like it's 3.5. Pitt by three
three
and
and
a
a half.
half.
Okay. So, yeah, I would still probably take Pitt on that. And it's at
Yeah,
Pitt, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So
yep,
so I just think because again, it's obviously proven that Clemson cannot score more than 20, 21 points any game. I mean, there's
yeah.
just no way they
Their
they have the
offense,
offensive power to score more than that. And I just don't see how that with the Clemson defense as depleted as they are, that I don't see how Pitt doesn't score, 20, 25, 28 points at least. I mean,
hmm
at the very least, Kenny Pickett right now, I wouldn't say is necessarily like in the Heisman running or anything like that. But I would say, I mean, he's definitely been a super impressive quarterback so far. But I mean, not much of a shocker to any of us who have watched
I
him
know.
play. So,
If they didn't lose to Western Michigan, I think he definitely would be up there. But that was just a crazy. I don't know how they lost that game, but he's got
no,
the stats to be up there. So
no. Well, it's kinda like with us that, a lot of people are still taking a look back at that Mississippi State game and going, "Man, I wish we would've won that game, and,
right,
we'd be a top 10 team right now, blah, blah." It's like, again, once again,
no,
we'll say this again, at the end of the day, we're here to win an ACC title. We're
yeah,
not here to win a national title. If If we win the ACC title, we're going to the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, got to
Period.
get
I
that
mean,
first.
it's
ACC title first.
right, exactly. And again, I mean, because if you win the ACC title, unless you're in the college football playoff, you're going to New Year's Six. You're going to the
Yeah,
Orange Bowl. So I mean, it's not like whether you're ranked, ninth or 10th, if that really matters at that point. Then if you're ACC champion and you're not going to college football playoff, you're going to the Orange Bowl. It's pretty plain simple.
yeah.
So I would just definitely say at the end of the day, again, just stay fans. I mean, we got to take it one step at a time, and I mean, the one thing which I will say, Michael, I will ask this to you and anybody who's tuning in to let us know, but is there any ground to stand on for any Doran haters or doubters at this point, in your opinion? I mean, honestly, I know we're probably all
Um,
fans here, but give me a reason, if there is a reason.
um, I mean, I'm not. It's kind of hard to think that way. I mean, some people just are are negative all the time and always set the expectation so high. I mean, you
Yeah,
could say that Clemson's not great this year. Like, yeah, of course we should have beaten them. So like, it's not as
sure.
big of a win. He's still struggled at Mississippi. If you say, okay, Clemson's really our best competition this year has been Mississippi State, and that's our only loss. So it's like, I I guess you could say that.
Yeah,
Um, but like I said, that's just like if and how we started this year. I'm probably more optimistic than I have been in a while on Doran. I mean, it is year 9 and it's starting to come together. Hopefully, it continues.
yeah. Yeah, well, and I mean, for me, really, one of the biggest things that I love is really just showing how there's guys every single week that are even young guys that are stepping up and making plays. It's obviously we lost 3 starters, but yet you on
Yeah,
defense, but you can't even necessarily tell. I mean,
uh-huh.
like Devon Boykin last night was amazing last
It
night.
was
I
great.
mean, for
Yeah,
only being I think a freshman
I think he's a
linebacker,
freshman.
and I
Yeah,
mean he was super impressive. I mean, obviously the breakup of the pass to the tight end that
that
probably
was
would have
big.
been an easy touchdown was huge, was ginormous. So I think definitely play of the night for sure. Man, because I mean, if they
Was
score that touchdown, it's a different story, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Was he also the one that got the safety at the end of the game too? I think he was.
Yeah, I think he was too. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and again, so I mean, huge hats off first of all, and again to Tony Gibson. I mean, you got to give that guy props. Holy smokes! I mean, for all the worries that a
yeah,
lot of fans, including us, that had when Doran had hired Tony Gibson from West Virginia, who obviously comes from the Big 12, which obviously is no defense conference, and then
not
to come
known for their
here,
defense, right?
right, and then to come here and definitely put the defense on the map. I think, right now, halfway through the season, State's defense ranks, pretty much in, the top 5, 10, 15 or so in multiple different defensive categories. And actually the most impressive one, and I would say the one that if you asked me, what are some of the most important defensive stats, one of the top ones I would say is third down percentage. Because then
Oh yeah,
if you can get off the field on third down, that is huge. That's a key factor, especially on at home games as well, where getting a stop on third down can be a huge momentum driver for the home fan base. And so to rank first in the country, number
yeah,
one in the country, not the ACC, number one in the country in third down percentage on defense is spectacular. And again, without three defensive starters, three of
right.
them.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's great.
so But so what would you say though, Michael, in terms of I know I kind of said it earlier, but so where would you because I think that when you're kind of considering Doran's top wins so far in his tenure, you think about Clemson this year and you think about Pitt. I'm sorry, and you think about this Boston College game. Pitt last year too, but I would say that Clemson and this game probably rank higher for sure.
Yeah,
S-
it's like I think obviously Clemson is still the biggest because they've been the top dog in the ACC. I know
Yeah,
they're not as good this year, but we, that means that was a game we had to win. You have to take advantage of when Clemson's down, and
Yeah.
Doran did that, especially since he hasn't beaten them. I think that's still number one, but
Mhm.
now that we've done that, I kind of like see what you're saying. I know a lot of people are like biggest win really, and it's like, well, yeah. Now that we've beaten Clemson, it's like the expectation is there that we should win the Atlantic. So like every game, especially conference games and division games, that's going to be the biggest game, especially
Mhm.
going on the road in the ACC.
Yeah.
Um, but I still have to go with Clemson as number one. But yeah, I mean this game was a big one, especially in the way we dominated it too in the second half.
Yeah. Well, and because again, and another thing I would add to as well is, I mean, it's obvious this year that, yeah, again, I mean, I think a huge kind of, way or as well, one thing which I would say is that this game we played on the road, Clemson we played at home. So basically,
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that, I mean, if we had played Clemson in Death Valley, I don't think I wouldn't necessarily say it's gonna be the same ending, not necessarily saying I think we would lose, but what I am saying is, I mean, home field advantage can be a big difference maker, especially
huge.
that
Yeah.
game where I
Hmm.
mean, the crowd was insane for us.
Right.
I think that definitely played, into our favor for sure. So and especially too because, at the time you still had, Clemson still had a couple of their, big time players and that they obviously lost, throughout that game. So, but I don't know. I just feel like that Boston College winning on the road against a solid team, and against a team that a lot of ACC teams were, having their eye on, as contenders for the ACC, and
Right.
even with
North Carolina.
Grossel instead of Phil Dracovic. So, again, I
Yeah.
mean
I mean,
that, but it's a toss up. I
uh,
get it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and especially, I would just want to say, I mean, yeah, their backup. I mean, he could be an ACC starter. Like, I mean,
Oh
that
yeah.
just pretty much shows how good Jerkovic is.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
because I mean, he had a couple interceptions, but um,
Hmm.
one the first one receiver probably should have caught it, and then the second one was kind of late in the game when they were forced to throw everything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yep. But and I think that I had mentioned this on our interview with the fourth and dude. But I think that you kind of saw it yesterday. That I mean, there's no doubt that Boston College was sloppy, and and if for those who had tuned in to check out the interview, one of the things I had said is that there's definitely a uh, a maturity tester to it. And the fact that Boston College lost the way they did, where they should have won against Clemson, just like
yeah,
we should have won against Clemson in 2016, but yet, a small, basically just brain fart, lost the game for Boston College. And then you have to turn around and, strap up your boots once again and face a tough NC State team, at home and be ready for it. And I think that you kind of saw that yesterday. I know that I think they counted that Boston College had 18 drops and they had 17
wow,
first downs. So meaning they had more drops than they had first downs. And obviously they had two turnovers. One was the fumble, the punt fumble, and then the interception to Isaiah Moore.
hmm,
And so again, and then like missing the 32-yard field goal towards the end of the first
yeah,
half, which would have given them a 10-7 edge. It was just a story of missed opportunities. I know for those who do not follow Fourth and Do, the Boston College podcast that we interviewed with, definitely go check them out. But I mean, he was just, I mean, just absolutely just letting Boston College have it, just because again, I mean, it just didn't seem like that Boston College was ready for it. Which again,
we've been
it
there. I mean, that
right.
was
Well, it would have said a ton, not a lot. It would have said a ton for Boston College and for Jeff Hafley if they could have swept the Clemson game to the side and been strong against us yesterday, in my
yep.
opinion. If they could bounce back from that. So I would say it was kind of less shocking, for me personally, that they came out a little bit flat. Again, we were there, just like you
Yeah.
said, Michael. We were there, we were
I
just
mean,
there.
yeah. I mean that Clemson. Clemson hangover is a real thing.
It is. It is 100% a real thing. Um, so kind of diving in, a little bit here coming up with this game against Miami. So, first of all, are we sure that the defense for UNC and the defense for Miami showed up to Chapel Hill yesterday? Did we double
I don't
check
know
that?
about that. And that was
I mean,
I assume you saw that after the game, the ACC network tweeted UNC defense in all capitals, and literally underneath it, it had the scoreboard where Miami scored 42 points. Like, I get it. They're saying that because they knocked the pass down on the last play, and technically the defense won that game. But
true,
it was
true.
just funny. It was a funny image that they tweeted out with 42 points
Right,
and they're playing defense.
right, right. Well, and again, I think really, you know, first of all, I mean, for Miami's backup, I think third
Yeah.
string actually quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke to jump in and play well, at Carolina. Um, was impressive. I mean, he didn't play
Hmm.
overall well. He threw 3 interceptions. But again, and a lot of it too, and actually kind of taking a look back at a lot of it really was again UNC just I think is because I know that Sam Howell threw a pick six at one point. So it was really just a lot of Carolina shooting themselves in the foot, honestly, that kept Miami in it. But you know, again, so I would say really that the biggest thing again for Miami, and I know that we had kind of said this during the preseason where we were kind of talking about the upcoming schedule when it came to Miami, is at the end of the day, if our offense can go into Miami and play a strong game and score 28, 30, 35 points and give our defense a little bit of wiggle room. Now
Hmm.
this was obviously with the expectation that Derek King was going to play, which now we
Yeah.
know he's not going to play. He's out for the year. So
And
really
that
for
just that
me,
Miami would be good in general, which they
right.
haven't been.
Well, because and I'll tell you, it is baffling to me how we are sitting here, and there is no doubt that Manny Diaz is on a hot seat for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Because not
Mhm.
only because not only just because of how they've done this year, but it just seems like that they're kind of lost right now. It just seems that they don't really know where their program is heading right now. Because I mean, Derek King's going to move on, and then who do you have behind him? I mean, you're probably going to have to bring in a new transfer quarterback. I mean, because I'm
Mhm.
sure they're probably not very overall thrilled with Tyler Van Dyke, and just again for an offense who returned every single starter from last season returned for this season, and for the it just seems like everything's just in
Yeah.
shambles right now with the Miami
It
program.
was tough that with um the injury to De'Aaron King last. I mean, it was technically in January, wasn't it? Their bowl game, I think. So it was like
Still,
technically still this year,
yep.
and I don't think he was ever 100% healthy,
Hmm.
recovering from that, and then obviously his shoulder now,
Hmm.
and also having to come out first game and play Alabama and just get smacked.
Hmm.
And yeah, from that they just really haven't put it together,
No,
um, like a lot of
no,
people thought they would this year.
no. Well, and especially too because I mean, right now they're relying on a third string quarterback and then a freshman running back in Jalen Knighton to
Right.
basically run their offense, and that's just not setting up for strength, because again, at the end of the day, Miami, in my opinion, has one of the most. I would say they have a lot of ego. They have an ego about themselves within the program overall. That's what it
Yeah,
seems like. Which I mean, hey, I get it because I mean, there's
it's the
no.
U.
Right, it's the U, and I mean the names that have gone through the
Mhm.
U, like Ed
Yeah.
Reed, Ray Lewis, Michael Irvin, you name it. I mean, there's been names that have gone through the U, and to be where they are right now with a program that should be competing at least for an ACC title, but if not more. But it's a baffling thing, and this is one thing which I definitely think that to kind of ask this of the Miami fans, but I'm just shocked that actually that they don't that the football program doesn't have more support than they do. I mean, looking at their home games, I mean they can barely fill half of what is it,
Yeah.
the Hard Rock Stadium,
Yep.
and it just it's baffling. So again, for us, I would say really this just comes down to, at the end of the day, we have everything still to play for, and meaning we're still playing for AC title, we're still playing
Yep.
for a 10-win season. That
Hmm.
I think that for us, that we need to go into immediately into this game with the exact same kind of mindset as Boston College, where we need to punch them in the mouth early. We need to get pressure on the quarterback. We need to get Van Dyke, out of his element a little bit, get him rolling a little
For
bit,
sure.
and then don't turn the ball over. Those would be
Yep.
my three keys: to hit him mouth early, get pressure on the quarterback, and don't turn over the ball. Don't give him
Yeah.
opportunities. So
Yeah.
that's my
It's
initial thoughts.
definitely, yeah. I mean, defense. Our defense has been spectacular all season, and they're gonna definitely need to do that again.
Hmm.
Um, Especially like you said, with a young, inexperienced quarterback, get him rattled.
Yeah,
Um, I think the offense, I don't expect us to put up 45 points, but like we've been doing, just steady, consistently moving the ball and getting in the end zone.
yeah,
And if our defense plays the way it has the whole season, I think we should take care of it.
yeah, yeah. But again, if there's one thing which I have learned, and early so far, is I would say that Vegas knows everything, and so for Vegas still to have, you know, I think, what are they two
Well,
and t- two two and four Miami, and 0-2 in the ACC against 5-1 NC State, and 2 or 3-0 in the ACC, and NC State only be favored by 2 points. It seems fishy to me. That's weird. It doesn't make
yeah,
any
it was
sense.
weird. Opening lines are always weird because I think each sports book tries and get theirs out first, like the Sunday after. So the
Yeah,
one I saw on Twitter said Miami was the 3-point favorite, but looking at it, all the other sports book have us as a 3.5 point favorite. So,
yeah,
and that also means maybe they got a lot of early money on NC State, and the line moved that much, or maybe
yeah.
that was just an error. But still, I that's what I was kind of expecting. I was still expecting us to be a slight favorite there.
It may be that maybe they're expecting, NC State to kind of, because I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say this is kind of a trap game of a sort, just being that obviously we've played, a couple, three tough games in a row against Boston College, Louisiana Tech, and now Boston College. And so they're kind of waiting for kind of that letdown game, and
Yeah.
I just don't see it from us for this game. Now, you know, I let's put it this way. I think that first of all, the one thing which I will say is, now getting through Boston College, the idea excites me. And again, I know, at the end of the day, we got to take this one game at a time. But I think that all of us kind of look at Boston College as one of the big kind of humps that we need to get over this season. And now that we've gotten over that hump, there are a couple of humps before we play Wake Forest. We have to get through Miami, we have to get through Louisville, we have to get through Florida State. But then looking at
Mhm.
that Wake Forest game, I mean, more than likely, unless something happens, Wake Forest is probably going to be at that point, what, probably 7-1, 8-0, something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's setting up for a huge matchup. I mean, college,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine College Game Day not picking that, just because. Again, I mean, I feel like the media almost owes us it, which I know at the end of the day that they're never going to, like, necessarily make us right or whatever. But like when their beloved Clemson and UNC fell out
Hmm.
of graces and found out to not be a good team, everybody, all the media was absolutely tearing the ACC apart, saying, oh, the ACC's not good this year. Like, like, what's going on with the ACC this year? And,
Yeah.
and uh,
Like, it's
but
just
again, I mean, we
Clemson that's not good this year. It's like there's still some good teams. Like,
well, Pitt, Wake Forest, and us, I would say, are the
yeah,
three predominantly top teams, and rightfully so. I mean, we're ranked. We're all three of us are ranked in top 25. I think
yeah.
Wake
Pitt
Forest is
got in this week.
16th, we're 18th, and then Pitt's 22. So,
Hmm.
uh, again, but I mean, that for me, I think that really that's gonna be such a big game. It's gonna be unreal. I can't wait to
I
look. Can't
know.
wait for that game. But
Yeah, I like you said, I think Wake Forest will be 8-0. I don't think they've got Army coming up this weekend at Army, which I mean that could be tough. Like the triple option, I know Dave Clawson, he's a great coach, and he'll have his team ready. Especially I think they didn't play yesterday, right? They had a bye week. So
correct.
he's had 2 weeks to prepare for a triple option. So I mean they'll be fine, but like that's if you're not used to playing triple option, that can be tricky.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's not a guaranteed W. I think
No,
they play Duke, so that they'll probably win that. And then I'm not sure they have one other team that should be a Virginia, maybe. I don't know. No, they already played
I'm
Virginia,
right now.
but they have one other game before that, before us, that they'll probably be 8-0, and hopefully we'll be 7-1, and that'll be a huge matchup.
So they play Army, then they play Duke and Carolina, and then they play us.
Oh, right, Carolina. So
So
you know,
8-0. Yeah. 8-0. Anyway, but the one thing though, which I did want to ask about is now we know a little bit of a story about Ed Ogeron at LSU was gone, and the immediate name that I saw, the immediate name I thought, I mean, I think Dave Clawson would be a great coach at LSU. I think he'd be
really.
awesome. I
Hmm.
I think it'd be great. Just I mean, not necessarily saying by any means here that I've seen anything saying that LSU is interested in him or looking at him, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know
He'll probably get a
we said
Yeah,
multiple
he'll
times
probably
that
get a
Dave
call.
Clawson deserves it, but
Yeah.
we'll see. But I mean, he'd be a great replacement, in my opinion. But again, I
Mhm.
know that doesn't mean much. So, but
Urban Meyer at LSU?
oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. It just, yeah, we'll see about
Seems
that.
like he
But
would fit in well down
Yeah, we'll see. But so what were your? So I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but I know one things we always like to kind of do with this is kind of talk a little bit about the other AC games. But the Syracuse Clemson game, I know
Yeah.
everybody their initial thoughts were that Dino Babers' clock management at the end was subpar at best, and yeah, I mean it's. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah,
I know you got some comments. Go for it.
yeah, I mean, like, the it's especially when you're playing Clemson, who's been the top dog, you gotta take some risks, and just especially at the end there, it's 4th and 1, they call timeout to
Hmm.
then kick. It was a 50+ yarder, I think it was, like, 52 or something, and it's just like,
Yeah.
why not try and go for it on 4th and 1, and then you still have your timeout and keep moving the ball? I don't know. I mean, I understand you wanna just kick it, but yeah, Tino Babers, man. He's probably on the hot seat too.
Well, but especially too, their their quarterback Garrett Schrader. I mean, he's a dual threat. I mean, he could run the
Yeah,
ball and throw the ball, and then you
true
also
too.
too have one of the best running backs in the ACC and possibly in the country in Tucker. And so I just don't see how you don't do some kind of a read option, something like that right there. If again you only need 1 yard, and again it just didn't make sense at all. But again, I'm sitting here and saying, I mean, I understand because again, at 52, I think it wasn't more than 55. Let's put it that it wasn't more than 55,
Yeah,
so it was makeable, and I think it actually matched his season high or career high, something like that. So I mean,
yeah.
it's within his range, the kicker's range, and so
But like you said, run pass option. You've got Trader who can run the ball. You've got one of the best running backs in the
yep, Sean
ACC.
Tucker,
I mean,
yep,
you can't trust them to get 1 yard and try and score. You're at home. Go and
yeah,
score a touchdown against Clemson.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, but again, that's why to me, honestly, the more Clemson plays, the more I kind of look at that Clemson win as not quite as good as we had thought. Because
Oh
just
yeah,
just because of the fact again, it's just proving more and more that it seems like because every like for example, the Boston College game, everybody saw DJ Uiagalelei throwing the ball after the game. After the stadium's emptied or whatever, and everybody's
Yeah,
like, "Oh my gosh, like, what a guy, like, he's gonna bounce back."
he
And
stinks.
yeah, again, it's just like that's what I'm saying. The more and more he plays, the more it's obvious that okay, it's not just that he's in a rut, it's just that he's not actually as good as we thought. That's
Yeah, I
really
don't
what
know.
it's come down to. It's kind of like the bigger the sample size, the more the data makes is more.
Yeah,
You can't argue with it at that point. Because you're like, yeah, if you have one bad game, like for example, Chris Dunn, which I mean, he made a clutch. It wasn't a long one, but a clutch kick at the end of the first half,
yep,
which was huge to take the lead into the first half. And so again, you're gonna like if you just look at Chris Dunn in just the Clemson game, you think, oh my gosh, like this guy's terrible. But in all actuality,
yeah,
he's made like 119 straight PATs, and I think he actually
never
just
missed
tied.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, I think he actually just tied Nicholas Sadie in terms of the most
yeah,
points in a
all
career at NC
points. Yep,
State. So. Um, so again, it just seems like that. I mean, the only game that DJ Uyunglele looked really good was last year against Notre Dame. But you add in now that he's played 6 games and hasn't looked good in any of them, and you
I
go,
know. It
okay, so
is. It's crazy that that first game he played against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's defense was legit last year, and he tore them
they
up.
were,
I mean, I know they lost, and then this year to come in with a full off season of knowing you're going to be the number one guy, and then just to not
yeah,
perform, it's kind of
no,
crazy.
no, no. So, but again, it's just I completely understand. Again, I'm not sitting here saying by any means whatsoever that Clemson win was not huge. It was huge. Again, I
Yeah,
mean, dude, tears were coming down my face after that game just because of how
yeah,
big it was to get the monkey off the back. But I'm saying more of like
I
from a third person perspective. Like if I wasn't a state fan and I didn't know how big it was for NC State purposes in terms of the
yeah,
2016 loss, in terms of the fact that they have always had our number for
yeah.
since 2011. But if I look at simply as that game alone, it's obvious to me that again just Clemson's odd this year.
It's
I
not a
really I
it's not
really
a
don't.
top it's not a top 10 win. I mean, even though they were ranked number 9, it's not really a top 10
No,
win.
no,
I
no,
like to
it's
keep
not.
going.
Exactly. So, but again, kind of, diving in as well into some of the other games
What
here.
before
Go,
we move on, one thing I wanted to mention that we
go,
didn't mention was
go for it.
Emeka Emezi, all-time school record.
Yes. How did I forget that?
I know.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and again, I kind of liked it the way we did it yesterday, where
Yeah,
we just did like a screenplay and
good
tossed
little
Emeka the
stream. Yep.
ball to break the record. And I mean, again, for this guy to bounce back from 2017 Wake Forest game, which I mean, I think for
That was
Mecca,
tough.
you always have to circle that moment because I
Yeah,
think all of us State fans kind of saw the potential in him,
yeah,
and then you see a play like that, and I think that a lot of fans, but said, okay, this can be either kind of a break moment or it can be a kind of a skip or jump up to another level. And I think that play really pushed Emeka and into the
yeah,
player he is today. I
yeah.
really do
And
believe that.
because if I remember right, I mean that was what 4 years ago now, but like he
Yeah.
had a big game that game, and like he had made some great catches,
Yep.
but then at the end when he just he reached out across the goal line and lost it. That
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately that we didn't win the game because of that. And yeah, like you said, it could
Yeah.
have gone either way. Like
Yep.
he obviously used that as fuel, and
Yep.
all-time school leader in receptions now. So
Which I don't think any of us after that play happened or even after that season would have looked at Emeka and been like, you know, that guy's gonna be
yeah,
that dude's gonna be breaking records as he stayed. Like, no,
yeah, I know.
I wouldn't have said that. But again, I mean, to now be one of the most consistent and probably one of the best go-to receivers in the ACC in terms of not necessarily like like I'm not saying he is like a first team All ACC
Yeah,
necessarily. I'm just saying that if you need a catch and you need a play, he has proven time and time again to be that guy that you can rely on.
yep,
The catches, or especially over the last 2 years, look at Pitt, look at Clemson, and I mean the catches he has made when we've needed them have been amazing. So I mean, huge hats off to Mecca, and to see kind of how he's really built himself into a star ACC wide receiver for us is nothing short of exemplary. So huge hats off and congrats to you, Mecca, for
Yeah,
sure, and the family on that amazing accomplishment to pass a guy that we all love and hold dear to our hearts in Jalen Samuels.
right.
The Swiss Army knife himself. So huge congrats on that. Yeah. Uh, so anyway, so now kind of jumping back in here, I wanted to kind of review a little bit more. So let's put this. So let me ask you this. So do you think Cutcliffe? What are your thoughts on Cutcliffe right now in terms of like?
I
I
mean, it's
just
weird because it's like he I he's not like I mean, Duke's not gonna be ever gonna be great.
yeah,
He's I don't think with him, I don't think they'll ever be as like 0 and 12 like they were in the early 2000s and
right,
mid 2010s before he got there.
yep,
Um, I mean, so I don't know. I think he pretty much will have a job at Duke as long as he wants it because
yeah,
I think he'll have them decent.
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird because it's Duke football, and it's just like
right.
it's not even a priority there. So I think he's the best that they are gonna get, and that they're probably happy with, and he seems happy there. So I don't know.
But again, I mean, to get absolutely, I mean, just whacked. I mean, like whatever word that you want to throw, ad lib in there in terms of what happened to them yesterday, 100% applies. No matter how bad that you look at. I mean, 48-0, turned the ball over 4 times through 2 interceptions and fumbled the ball twice.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make sense. Again, I mean, to give up 528 yards of total offense to Virginia, um, it was embarrassing.
Virginia's got a pretty good offense. So Brennan Armstrong, he's definitely a great
Sure,
QB.
sure. Yeah, but
Um,
again,
but
so I think it really all comes down to those 4 turnovers. I mean,
yeah, that's tough.
that's the only thing that kind of stands out to me in terms of why, maybe where all this came from. But because I mean, Duke had 325 yards of offense, which isn't terrible. That's okay.
Yeah,
But again, 4 turnovers is just that's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow. And now on the season, you have a butt whooping from Virginia, and then you have a loss to a UNC Charlotte team. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
UNC Charlotte to me, I feel like is going to be one of those losses that it's going to be, it's always going to be kind of that ding on Cutcliffe's record. I mean,
yeah,
there's like that's such a bad loss. That's such a tough loss to lose to UNC Charlotte. As a Power 5 team, that's a
yeah,
tough one.
yeah.
So,
That is that is tough.
mhm.
Um, I mean, they did. I like they did turn around and then beat up on Northwestern, which is a Big Ten school. I mean, I know they're not
Mhm.
very good, but
No.
Northwestern, they were in the Big Ten championship last year, right? Didn't they
Yeah,
play Ohio State last year? Yeah,
they
and then
were in it.
they
Yeah.
killed them. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what to think.
I can't really explain it. So, but so I guess we'll just kind of leave it as Duke stinks, and don't be surprised if they fire Cutcliffe, or don't be surprised if they sign him to 5-year extension. Like
Exactly. Yeah, I
it's
wouldn't be surprised either way.
it's who knows right now with Duke. But again, they're just all they're looking at is Coach K's last year right now, and that's all they care about. It's just
Yeah, like
it's kind of like UNC right now. UNC they didn't show up yesterday to the Miami game, but everybody's saying, well, that's because they're ready for basketball. They're ready for basketball.
speaking of
So
Coach K, did you see him say that 4 tickets to their last regular season game against UNC went for $1 million?
million million
That's
dollars. But
crazy.
by the way, too, I mean, was he did it in part of a giveaway for the Jimmy V Foundation. So huge
Oh, I
thanks to
didn't know
him.
that part.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, he
okay.
raised money for he offered 4 tickets for donations for the Jimmy V Foundation.
Oh, okay,
So
that makes a little more sense. I thought they were just, like, going on StubHub for $1 million.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. So I mean,
But that's
definitely,
awesome, yeah.
yeah. I mean, huge house off to him again. Coach K is one of those guys that again, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't like him. Why? Because he's Duke, like, we're at NC State, we can't like Duke or Carolina,
Yeah,
but there's no doubt. I mean, I respect him, for all that he's done for as a part of Jimmy V, supporting Jimmy V, supporting this foundation, even being a part of Duke, and again, I mean, because he's never somebody that you see that does anything wrong necessarily per se. Now I know a lot of people might say, well, nobody's ever going to show that he's going to do something wrong. Which I mean, I get it because he's Coach K, he's Duke basketball, I get it. But again, I mean,
You got other
I,
people
I
do that for him.
right, I have no issues with him. The only issues I really have with him is just because of the colors he wears. That's really the only issue I have with him. So, but again, I
Yeah,
mean, there's no fan that as much as you don't like him, you can't not say he's one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all
yeah,
time. You can't not say that. So
yeah,
that's all it comes down to. But one of the last games I want to talk about though, when it came to the ACC, is the Pitt Virginia Tech game. And I really want to talk less necessarily about Pitt because I mean we all know Pitt is a great team. They looked good. They looked great. Kenny Pickett had a solid day. It was a great game. But Justin Fuente right now, I mean, I mean, man, you're talking about a roller coaster. To go from such a high of beating, a top 10 team in UNC at home
yeah,
to start off your season, and then you barely beat Richmond. I mean,
yeah.
and again, I think they beat them like what, like 20, I think it was like 14, 21, 7, something like
It was
that.
closer than it should have been.
It was way closer than it should have. It was
Yeah.
way less scoring than it should have been. And then
Hmm.
now you lose to Pitt by 21 points, and you only score 7.
Yeah.
It's again, it's kind of one of those things that it's not necessarily like that Fuente is doing terrible. It's just a matter of that from the expectations that we all know Virginia Tech has for its football program, he's not even close to what their expectations are.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
think
Right.
that's more of the
I
way to describe it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, yeah, if he was doing that at like a Georgia Tech or something and going six
They're
and
fine.
six, 7-5, that'd be
They're fine.
okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
I yeah, I don't unless they turn it around somehow. I think they'll lose to Virginia, which especially that rivalry. I think he'll be fired at the end of the season.
I mean, I would say if I mean, don't be surprised if the opening spread for the Virginia Tech game is any less than 10 points. I mean, I think it's going to
Yeah,
be Virginia Tech. Virginia's going to be pretty heavily favored for that
yeah,
game. So, um, but also too, actually, you know, even talking too about the Louisville game as well. Last week I know that we kind of talked a little bit about that, but I mean, again, it just all kind of comes back to that again. I think the story that we've said is, what is going on in the ACC? Like, like for it's just
it
it's
it
just another kind of chapter in the
it's
huge book of what is the ACC? Like, who's good, who's bad? I still don't know. Like,
I know it's like it's kind of like almost the whole national picture.
yeah,
It's just been crazy, but I think
yep,
it makes it more interesting because for the last 6 years it's been Clemson's the best team in the ACC. They're going to win, and it's just a
yep,
matter of who they're going to destroy from the Coastal Division in the ACC championship.
yep,
So I think it definitely makes it more interesting, even if it's a down year. It
yep.
makes it more interesting to follow.
Now, one thing though, because I know we kind of have two topics here we want to discuss here before the end of this live stream here, but one thing which I did want to bring up when it comes to UNC is I just still do not understand. I do not understand for the life of me why Sam Howell is running the ball. He ran the ball 17 times yesterday. He ran the
Really?
ball 17 times yesterday. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he's no. I would. I understand that. Yeah. I mean, he's an athletic quarterback. He's an athletic quarterback.
Yeah.
I would kind of look at him as kind of like a Trevor Lawrence, kind of, where he's athletic. Like, he can run the ball, but you don't
Yeah.
want him to run the ball unless he really
Exactly.
has to. But again, I mean, like you would never see Trevor Lawrence run the ball 17 times. You would never see him run the ball 7 times. Why? Because
I
he's a gifted pocket passer. Keep him
yeah.
there. Don't, like, why are you
Yeah.
risking all these injuries? Like
I
if
think
Sam Howell goes down, you are done. You are
yeah,
done.
he's their whole offense. I mean, him and Josh Downs, like that's their best play. Throw it hell to
Yeah,
Josh Downs. But
yeah,
I think it also has to do with their offensive line is just not good this year either. So he's probably
yeah,
having to run more than he would like to too.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
But I mean, again,
it,
if
it,
you
it,
were
it-
if you were to tell me that Sam Howell ran the ball yesterday, pretty much exactly the amount of times that their starting running back ran the ball. Oh, that's just scary. Again, I mean, that's just
Mhm.
asking for it.
I
That's
know,
literally asking for it.
but they still they still put up 45 points, so
They still
that
did.
they can score.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But again, most of it was on the ground. I mean, again, they had 228 yards of rushing yesterday. So yeah, that was definitely shocking. But again, Josh Downs still had 11 catches. So
Yeah,
and to kind of again put that in perspective, Sam Howell threw 17 completions. Josh Downs had
11
11 of
touch.
them. So once again, it is proven to stop UNC. You gotta stop that connection.
Yeah,
That's really what it all seems like. Just stop Sam Howell, stop Josh Downs. That's it. Game
yeah,
over. So
and one thing on that topic, one thing that I think we've we've been a little critical of Tim Beck's play calling at times,
yeah,
but he does spread out the ball well. Like it seems like
yes, he
every
did.
game you've got 10 receivers with at least 2 or 3 catches each. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, like yesterday, so Thayer Thomas, so here's all the guys that caught a pass yesterday: Thayer Thomas, Devin Carter, Chris Tootle, Zonathan Knight, Ricky Person, Porter Rooks, Emeka Mezzi, Dylan Parham. So I mean, what? That's 9 guys probably that caught a
yeah,
pass. And
yeah,
by the way, too, I know that seeing Dylan go down, that was a scary. That was like,
yeah.
I don't like that.
He just
I
got
don't like that.
bent backwards.
Yeah. So, but for him to walk off on his own feet and
Yeah,
walking to the tent, it didn't look like he was any kind of pain or anything like that. And I even saw him actually standing on the sidelines and still wearing a full uniform. So it looked like more likely we're probably going to hear back that he's okay, which is
yeah,
great. Because I mean, definitely watching that. I know again, my wife is about to graduate with her doctorate in physical therapy, and she saw them and just started yelling, "ACL, MCL, ACL, MCL." I'm
yeah,
like, no, no, no. So, so hopefully it is the case that we fully avoided injury there, which would be, I think, a huge win for sure to have that extra tight end depth piece. So,
yeah,
um, but for one fun topic, and I think that we kind of have to bring this up, not necessarily for us as an NC State fan or for us as an ACC fan, but really just for the fact of I just couldn't believe what I was seeing yesterday, and that is the Tennessee Ole Miss game. I know we just got to talk
yeah.
about it a little bit here right at the end, just because it was such I couldn't believe what was going on. And it was more of not necessarily again, it was terrible just by itself, but the biggest thing that bugged me about it was Tennessee still had all 3 timeouts. They still could have won the game.
Yeah,
And I mean, and they were even there at the end. They still were close to winning that game. So what if
that
they won
yeah,
that game? Like holy smokes, y'all! Like
I
but
know.
again, I'm not saying that if they didn't have a chance to win, that's okay. I'm just saying that it could have made them look not only like jerks, but really dumb that they did all that and they ended up
I
winning
know.
the game.
I know. I was honestly I was rooting for them to win the game just to see the celebration afterwards after all of that. And
Yeah.
but first of all, that last play, I mean, Tennessee's quick. They got the ball back and
Oh,
they were about to score. He went out and Joe Milton had to come in and he ran it. Like, why are you going to run it on
dumb,
fourth down? You have
dumb.
to throw in the end zone. Interception doesn't matter at that
Yes.
point. But
Mm,
whatever. That's besides the point.
yeah.
Yeah, I like obviously you can't do that. You can't just throw stuff on the field. But
No.
at the same time, it's not like that couldn't happen at any passionate fan base or any Power 5 team school. Literally like within probably 30 minutes of that game ending and there's all this commentary on how it was terrible and stuff. An old tweet from like 2019, it was basketball. I don't know if you saw it. Ole Miss at home against Tennessee, and Ole Miss fans were throwing stuff on the court too.
Yep.
So it's just like it's I don't know. You can't do that.
Oh,
They
no.
just I was listening to another college football podcast this morning on my drive, and he was just talking about I mean the refs. It was basically in response to earlier in the game. Um, Tennessee had a touchdown taken away. Like they called it was a fumble. Ole Miss fumbled it. Tennessee returned it for a touchdown, but they called him down. His forward progress was stopped when it was like clearly a bad call, and so
Mhm.
apparently that led up to it. And
Yeah.
apparently this same ref crew was the ones that last year the Auburn Arkansas game. I don't know if you remember that. Auburn tried to spike the ball. It should have been a fumble. Arkansas should have got the ball back. They
Right.
reviewed it, gave the win to Auburn. And then
Mhm.
earlier this year, the Memphis Mississippi State game where the guy tried to down the punt, they didn't call him down. Memphis returned it for a touchdown, and it's
Memphis,
just been
Mississippi
like,
State, yeah.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead, keep
yeah.
going.
Sorry, what
Keep
did I
going.
say? I don't know,
Sorry, to
but
me
yeah,
at first, it kinda read as NC State, but you said Mississippi
uh,
State. My fault. Go
I
ahead.
may have, but yeah, but basically he was saying that this crew of refs, because they all kind of travel together, has
Yeah.
been like especially bad. And like
Yeah.
if you're the SEC, you have to like you have to have hold your officials to a higher standard to that. And don't be surprised when you get a fans
Yeah.
reaction like that.
Yeah. Well, the kind of the initial kind of example that comes to mind is in 2016, the Clemson game in no, 2018, 2017. Check that. 2017 when we had Bradley Chubb, uh,
Hmm.
and it was at home, and that was when Kelly Bryant was a quarterback for Clemson, and there was a couple of tough calls, interesting calls that definitely didn't go our way, but again, if there's anything that we all can expect is that unfortunately a top tier team, like top 10 team in the ACC is always going to get the calls in their favor. It's just no explanation why, but just for some reason, it just always is a consistent theme. And towards the end of the game or after the game, when the refs went into try to go into the locker room, there was fans throwing stuff at the refs
Yeah,
as they were
like
going into the tunnel. And so, you know, my initial kind of thought is that, at least from what I know, most of the stuff that was thrown at the referees was like, popcorn, food, drink, stuff like that. Which again is still not acceptable, by any means. Then day we gotta represent NC State in a higher capacity than that. But for them to throw things such as a golf ball, that I mean
yeah,
was close. I mean,
where
like
did that
what
come
if that
from?
what if they hit Lane Kiffin in the head? I mean, I'm just saying, at the end of the day, now you are screwing with the players, not only your own players, but like your own cheerleading. Like you saw the cheerleading squad, they had like
Yeah, they were
the
going
the, the
out,
posters over their head.
banging.
What if you hurt somebody? Like again, it's just not
I know.
smart. It doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. So again, for me, I mean, if I'm again, I've never wanted to say the NCAA, I need you to do more. I need you to find more. But I'm saying I hope they crack down and
Yeah, I mean,
give Tennessee
yeah,
a little
they'll get a
fine. So
fine. They're gonna get a fine from the SEC. They may already have it. I don't know. I haven't seen anything, but
yeah,
yeah, it. Yeah,
it's
but I
just
mean,
embarrassing.
that's yeah.
It's
But
embarrassing.
like it, yeah, like I said, it can happen. It probably has happened at a lot of not on that level. That was crazy, but like
Yeah.
people we've seen it in the NBA last year.
Hmm.
Fans that was more fans throwing stuff at players, which is even worse.
Yeah.
So, but and it's just like obviously that's I mean it can happen. It shouldn't happen, but
Yeah.
that's college football.
That's college football. But again, I just hope and pray that that never happens. I really do hope that pray that that doesn't happen at NC State again, because there are going to
Yeah,
be times. There are going to be times. Just go ahead and expect
there's
it, where there are going to
there's
be
gonna be bad
calls
calls.
that are
Yeah.
not in our favor. Is going to happen.
Hmm.
And you can boo them, absolutely to death. That is
Yeah.
a-okay with me. But I just truly hope that we never go to the point where we are risking player, coach, and referee safety. That's
Yeah.
where it crosses the line for me. So
Yeah.
just that is my hope and prayer. But again, I completely understand. At the end of the day, college football, it's a very emotional thing. But at the end of the day, folks, it is just a game. And especially for Tennessee, it is their first year with a brand new coach.
Hmm.
So to even be this far and to be competing with a team like Ole Miss like they did last night, I mean, it was a great game. They played a great game
Yeah, it's
against a
great
good
game.
Ole Miss team. So even losing that game, Tennessee fans should still be excited about the future. And so
Mhm.
again, not saying here by any means, once again, that is it is acceptable in any asset, but to do it where you're still have a chance to win, and to still do it also too where it's still overall a lot of positives out of it. It's ridiculous. So
Yeah, that was the craziest thing that
it was the
Tennessee set
craziest thing.
3 timeouts, and they ended up stopping them, like,
Yeah, and
I
they
don't
and
know.
they and they almost won. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, really do appreciate your time. And again, I think hopefully you all enjoyed this fun little discussion. And obviously it's an amazing thing to be sitting here 5-1 with everything still well within the crosshairs for what we want to accomplish this year. So definitely excited here to see what we got coming up here with this Miami game. So please make sure again if you
I'll
haven't
be there.
already. Oh yes.
I'll
So
be
make
there.
sure
So if
make sure
anybody's going, let me know.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Make sure if you guys are if any of you are going to be at the Miami game, make sure to reach out to us. Our friend Michael here is going to be actually there at the game, so make sure to reach out to us if you're going to be there. And make sure too if you haven't already followed us, make sure to follow us, and we'll make sure to be posting a lot of in-person pictures and videos and statistics and thoughts, you name it. So make sure to give us a follow on at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. So thank you all so much again for your support, and everybody have a great week, and so excited for this awesome game coming up here against Miami. Thank you all so much. As always, good pack, y'all. We'll see you guys later.